United Nations for the Americans, they resolve the problem in Iraq with Saddam Hussein, and leave the problem in Somalia with piracy. Of course, I think this is a commercial problem and a commercial issue from the point of view that it's a market. From the point of view that it helps the drivers, the PMIs, the lawyers, everyone.
So you mean that
let me finish, you know, this is only if I may. What we can do? I fully agree with Mr. Moraitis. There is not any other solution than to defend ourselves with our people. I remember a few months ago some Norwegian professional from the Navy, they came to the yacht club to educate us. From the Scandinavian market, probably used to tell me we were there. When I asked the professional, when they said the professionals, listen, the Russians and the Chinese are using our people on their ships, but we don't recommend so. I was very much surprised because, you know, the Somalian piracy have records, and you are very dangerous the next time. It's a bullshit. I said, do you imply that the Russians and the Chinese who were there and are stupid? We have to do that. There is not any other way since the authorities, they're absolutely absent, you know, in defending ourselves. Now, my question to Mr. Moraitis is the following. I like if you can help me. You can help the people as well.
He doesn't have the captain's come from Greek as myself.
Therefore, I have to treat him very polite.
He's Moraitis, not Moraitis.
Moraitis, Mr. Moraitis, sorry. Mr. Moraitis, I'm sorry, I apologize.
He's from Monaco.
Yes, I see. Thank you very much for the correction. I'd like to have, you know, if you can help me, and if you can help the market as well. There are some rooms that these people are connected in the city of London in the way that someone is advising them the ships route. And I did say so. There were some forums in the yacht club that mentioned that. Of course, I'm not going to disclose if we were not present. Some of the writers, some these kind of things. Of course, if you can answer them. I like to give business efficacy to this problem because I remember mid-80s when we sent a tanker, 1 million barrels, to sail to West Africa for orders after the completion of this search, and we could not fix the ship. We said to the captain, anchor to the territorial water, in the international territorial waters of Angola, and waiting for a couple of days, and then we can fix the ship. And, you know, people from Angola, you know, arrested the ship with a lot of consequences. This was an incident. But here, we have an incident which, you know, it was about in excess of 10 billion. Therefore, well, this is a scandal. Now, you said something that I like your help as well in that regard. You said that the Somalia people, they have $2,050 annually.
200.
Yes.
250.
250. I learned we are not innocent ourselves. We are not innocent in the respect that are you aware that Indians and Chinese are fishing the areas in a large scale, an extremely large scale, and they cannot earn their food? This was mentioned also, officially in the yacht club. Therefore, somebody has to do something, to apply good faith to a Spanish situation. Otherwise, I don't think we can resolve the problem. I fully agree with you. You said that we don't have any other alternative than to do the worst and absolute. Because the crew cannot use gas.
And the crew shouldn't use gas.
Yes, because they are not qualified. Therefore, we are forced to employ young people to defend ourselves. But do you think nowadays in a civilized world this is a solution? This is what Mr. Chairman wanted to say. And if you don't mind, okay, this is what I don't think anything else to say. Thank you very much for giving them the opportunity.
It's a pleasure to have you. So in fact, what you are calling off is that you are calling for an international effort to solve the problem. It is more, rather than international political problem, which of course is not being solved simply because there are other parties that are making a lot of money out of it.
No, I don't have an answer for this. What I imply is that how the big nations accept this country, for years. This is a scandal. I mean, I'm talking about the United Nations. And, you can increase your imagination, you come to any conclusion, it's favorable to everybody.
Yes, but you call
I don't ask me to commit myself.
Yes, but you call as well this problem of the piracy as the establishment of another market, the piracy.
Because it's a good market for other items, for PNIs, I don't mean that,
you mentioned as a
I don't mean that this is, they help them, this market. They create the market. Okay, something, why not? People traveling, using hotels, you go there, you do it.
And if I understand well, it is...
But we suffer there, as honest, by paying, the 10 or 15 billions is a big amount. But it's not the point. The issue, the fundamental issue is how the strong people, the nation, in a civilized world, accept. Can you help me? Yourself? What's your opinion? How?
Before I will go to the gentleman that he raised his hand there, John, tell me something. What do you dealt with all this problem? I mean, you follow the incident from the beginning to the end, up to the time that the crew came to Greece, etc. Did you notice or did you feel that you were talking with people in, I'm not talking only about Somalia, but the intermediaries, lawyers, insurance, etc., that they were having experience on the problem, they knew how to solve it?
Yes, as I was saying or referring to in my presentation, it's important to assemble good help and to get the right team assembled straight away. I'm happy to say that the advisor which we retained had been recommended to us by our war insurers, the Hellenic War Club, and proved to be a really good, safe pair of hands to hold my hand, if you like, and advise the CMT. They proved to be very good, and in fact, the 5 gentlemen concerned in that organisation have become very good friends of mine. So there's some benefit from that experience, strange benefit. But yes, I followed the process through from the beginning. But you have your day jobs to do as well, and you end up spending more hours than you normally would because you've got to fit in the piracy business as well as your ordinary day
But at the same time, now that you have become friends with them, I mean about 4 years, have you seen them growing up as a business? I mean, have you seen them establishing a larger organization? Do you see more competition with other companies similar to what they have?
There is greater competition, although the KNR, the kidnap and ransom market, has been a long-established insurance provider, mainly in Lloyd's, and the gentleman who advised us, they actually came from a kidnap and ransom background, mainly in Central America. One of them is a former Ministry of Defence, UK Ministry of Defence intelligence officer. Another is a former Royal Navy officer who was a De Beers diamond buyer in Africa. Another is retired from the CIA in Florida. And another actually used to be working for Oxfam. So they have different backgrounds, but all accustomed to analysing people and reactions to discussions. Can I just to say one point? There were some funny moments, and in a way, you needed some light relief during the negotiations with these gentlemen. On one occasion, Mr. Jamak said to me, "Mr. John, you will not hear from me now for 10 days. I have to go up country." Okay. Anyway, I have to go to Hamburg for a closing. So I phoned Mr. Jamak and said, "Mr. Jamak, I'm sorry, you won't hear from me for 4 days. I have to go up country." At least you could laugh at the joke. Another funny experience was we were sitting around at the CMT, and of course you record all of these conversations, and then you want to play them back and try and work out what the psychology is. Anyway, I used to prefer to phone Mr. Jamak in the afternoon rather than the morning, in case in the morning they tend to sometimes be a little bit high on. Anyway, I got a very cross Mr. Jamak, who obviously was having a siesta, and I disturbed his siesta, so he was not pleased with me. But in the background, I could then hear the sound of a goat. All of this, of course, is recorded, in our office. I put down the telephone, and the CMT, all of them just went like this at me. My CMT. So there was some funny
I like very much the second joke because it links us well with the agriculture. But I take your point and I will continue, but I want you to say more things, Panos, on the competition of your firms. And say if you have, I don't need a lot of details, just the size of how many companies there are in the world, not necessarily Greece, who are the leading nations on armed personnel flights, etc., guards, etc. Just highlights. Just how many.
Before I do that, let me reply to Mr. Mavrakakis who addressed 3 questions regarding bias to me. First of all, is whether pirates are having intelligence on ship routes through various contacts in London. In my opinion, no. And I can justify that by just saying that if they have that intelligence, they would not attack ships with armed guards, and they still attack ships with armed guards. If they have the ship routes in the area are very specific.
They might be in a position, they might try to overpass this obstacle of armed guards, and they get experience how to conquer these vessels.
Well,
You never know.
there have been attacks by multiple skips simultaneously, but even in those cases, I know it may sound like a hyperbole, but once we have had an approach on a vessel protected by an armed team by 19 skips, they did not attack, they approached, only one came closer, and as soon as we realized that where are the involved, they left.
Yes, right. But you cannot say because they are attacking an armed vessel, they do not have intelligence coming from an international center. I don't want to say about London or whatever, or India or
Secondly, they can have intel from various shipping agents in the air. That's very easy.
But
And there's also
the Lord's intelligence in the other, they can know
Well, therefore, what I mean is that their connection does not go very far so far as the employment of the other people, but can go so far as the route of the ship is concerned.
It's easier to find out.
You confuse the issue.
It's easier to find out whether there are armed guards on a vessel without requiring centralized contacts and intelligence. You can pay a small shipping agent at the bottom of the location and learn whether there are or not armed guards. But the vessel may declare a false destination. Even on the AIS, the Navy master decide to, instead of showing next port of call, say armed guards on board. Yeah. So for that reason, certainly they do have intelligence from various contacts in the ports in the area.
They mentioned that officially in the yacht club. Official company, recognized. Yes. But this is why I raised it.
Okay. Secondly,
I'm very skeptical myself.
you raised the point about the Chinese and Indians exploiting the Somali exploiting the Somali waters by fishing. No, this isn't the case. However, this was the reason that the first incidents of piracy took place in the early 90s, and this was the excuse for pirates. But they were, let's say, a private coast guard to protect their interests. However, this is not the case. Yes, certainly there is extensive fishing in Somali waters.
Even now?
Yeah.
Yes.
There is illegal fishing activity.
Still now.
Not as much as the early 90s.
We had the expert here, Mr. Dascaris, for really nasty.
What is the Xiradakis here?
Dascaris is left already.
But in this case, right nowadays, pirates continue to do illegal activities not to protect their waters, but as an easy way to earn money. And finally, you asked whether it is a solution in a civilized world to use armed guards. And I consider the banks, various business entrepreneurs, that even in Greece, US, all the civilized world, they need armed guards for their protection. So, yes, I agree. Armed guards is a solution in the civilized world.
I agreed already with this.
Yeah. No, I think
For the last report.
So, can you,
so the question.
the question. Tell us just less than a minute about your competition.
Okay. Every day you have new companies starting up. The latest figure I read was something like 470 entities worldwide. Every week I learn about new companies even.
In shipping, we consider Greece as a big shipping center as there are others in the world. Do you think that the Greek market provides a lot of players? I mean, where are the most, let's say, who has the greatest part of the pie?
UK.
UK. And then after that, give us some other
The majority of companies providing. Israel, yes, they export defense, but Israel should not be a big player in our market, considering that we have to pass through Arab countries. And having an Israeli passport in an Arab country is a big no-no.
So it's Greece, UK, Greece, other, France, Spain?
No, France is not a traditional shipping company. So
USA.
Yes, I don't. Yes, they
But
certainly
still
have
are there.
providers.
So, I mean, from the two questions that I made, I mean, to John regarding the improvement of the companies that were already established and the training that you are passing, etc. And the fact that you tell us that every day we have newcomers in the market or whatever. So here we have a real market, a real booming market, an established market that makes the comment of Mr. Mavrakakis really corrected. I mean, what he thinks. I mean, I don't want him to refer on what he heard in other conferences, but what he believes, and this is why he expressed himself here, is something true, and that a new market has been created, which is attached to the shipping market, one way or another.
Certainly, maritime security seems to be a lucrative market. With many people believe that it's an easy job with lots of easy profit and a low barrier of entry. Yes, I will accept that 2 days ago there was a low barrier of entry.
For a young person that he might be, a student in the Maritime Academy here, or for another person that is following history of shipping, or if you want to become a lawyer in shipping, etc. This is a thing that is not covered by any book when it is executed in the market. But here we don't have, we have to take out our fingers out of our eyes and just to realize that piracy has become a market. And of course, when we want to call international forces to overpass with this problem, we do have the problem of the private sector that they might be happy to make money out of it and might have another obstacle as it happened in other markets. So this is one of the conclusion of the first part of the discussion. I think that before I'm going to answer that, we have to say Mrs. Zelira Harlan will say a few words.
Yeah,
to raise some questions.
I have a couple of questions. Before the comment on, you said that piracy has become a market. Piracy has always been a market. Okay, and the Chinese have now had such an efficient market that for 3 or 4 generations, from the 16th, 17th, 18th century, all the trade of the southeastern China coast have been completely extinct because of the efficiency of 2 or 3 generations of families in piracy. Okay, so and Somalia now has been developing this piracy. But anyway, I wanted to ask.
Yes, but the international waters allow me to say this. I can say for the last 50 years, we didn't have such a severe problem.
No.
Right?
Yes.
We did have the problem of being raped or being stolen in Maracas Strait in the past, as the time that I was working on ships. But we didn't have such a big problem.
Okay.
Not to have the fear that what is happening, as John said, what was happening in the east part of Africa is going to happen as well in the west part of Africa, and much worse.
No, you're very right. This is quite a growing new phenomenon and a very old business. It's true. I have a question for Mr. Evans. After this experience that your company had, and apart from wireless and so on, have you hired armed guards for vessels? This is one question. Okay? And the second question is for Mr. Moraitis. Thank you very much for all of this information. And if this piracy has grown, Somali piracy in the last 5 years, and there have been many books as well published on that. My students were very happy to write on Somali piracy actually. The industry develops defense mechanisms like your company, okay? And then if your company and other competitive companies do their business well, then we would expect an increase of this.
Yes, we have actually deployed armed teams on vessels, but in relatively recent times. My principles were very much against the use of armed guards as a matter of policy. But in January this year there was a change of policy, if you're going straight to the Indian Ocean from South America, then the answer is probably a different one. But the philosophy is something which is one which has to be taken at the highest level. We have a special Chartworld time charter clause, which is an amended DINCO international distribution, which exists the rights clauses, and we have an amended one, which, if the charterers accept it in the negotiation process, enables all of the costs associated with hiring, guards, everything, extra insurance to be passed on forward by the charterers. It's a charterers market today. It's a charterers market today, not charterers guys are finding it's really difficult to get that.
Right. Thank you, John.
So, you
Sorry, you really have some money.
no.
He looks like
Mi Garcia και το χρόνια. So, yeah, they say Cretans, Cephalonians, and Minors have equal craziness. Anyway, no, you asked whether the establishment of private maritime security companies have results as a defense mechanism. And the truth is that statistics within 2012 show a decline in the number of attacks and hijacks. However, I need to point out that this year the coalition forces in the area have also been very active and very successful.
Coalition forces?
The UN, EU.
Okay. If that was actually another question,
The Navy Force,
the
the National Navy
Of
Force,
course.
which is there. Thank you very much, Panos. Mr. Bodorov, you want to raise a question?
I thought that Mr. Mavrakakis asked the core question in this debate, which is whether it is socially just for the international community to pass over the onus of defending against piracy to the owners. And I would like to express a view on this. And my view, the view I would like to express is that this is passing over the onus of defending against piracy to the owners is a cynical admission by the governments of the West that the lives of seafarers, third world seafarers, are far inferior to the lives of their own citizens. I have no doubt in my mind that if the seafarers were American, or British, or French, or German, the problem would have been tackled in completely different way. We saw an incident where American seafarers were involved in activity, and we saw the SEAL forces going on intervening. I think that it would be in the same way that we've seen so many no-fly zones, no sailing in zones. We would also see no sailing and no fly zones over the Somali waters.
Thank you for your support, Mr. Bodorov. Is there anybody else?
Sorry.
Everybody. But it was very nice, very good, because Bodorov, is an engineer and the neighbor.
He is
That's another way of
he's a
expressing
professor.
He helped us, you understand?
Particularly me.
And
Well, this year we have seen the European Union approving land operations in the Somali coast, especially against pirate bases. And there have been a couple of successful ones, but then again, it's not easy to attack a nation without the fear of collateral damage, and this is what I believe they're mostly afraid of. Because, let's be honest, yes, I can understand your comment that you believe Western governments do not hold high the life of the seafarer, but they do spend some billions of dollars every year to have naval vessels in the area and try to protect merchant ships. And you know even better than I do that the area there is very extensive, and you will need hundreds of naval ships to guard the area successfully. And then again, no sailing zone. I do believe the humanitarians will evolve.
With this technology,
It's not a matter of technology. They can track every ship leaving the coast, yes, but they cannot apprehend it on time using the naval vessel. They can send a helicopter, it has a limited range.
I'm quite positive that they can destroy them in the open seas as well as in the land. They know, in my opinion, 100% if they so wish.
Well,
But this is a question, to be asked about.
I think that the answer has been given on the right for the discussion in light as well. Don't raise it. At the end of the day, he's not in the center of the controlling the piracy system.
That's an opinion.
He's against it.
Could I just, in relation to the coalition forces, there was a reduction in the coalition forces, we believe, this summer, because the Royal Navy, the British Royal Navy, withdrew from protection because they were required to go to London.
I have a question from the...
yes,
Your name. What's it now?
My name is Xiradakis Apostolos.
What?
Xiradakis Apostolos. And I would like to make a question to Mr. Moraitis. According to the decreased rates of piracy because of the measures with the armed guards, first I would like to mention that I would prefer, even I believe that it's not right because I know that it's part of the game, part of the system, but I would choose for myself this measure, this protection. But I would like to ask you, do you really believe that all this measure is just, and this decrease in piracy is just for the moment? At the sense that in my mind I make a relation with common beggars, let's say, that enter in our houses every day, that for instance, we change lock at the door, we put a nipper better, and they find out way after 2 or 3 months, after 1 year, let's say, to break this lock, and we put 2 locks. After we replace the door with a high quality door, and they remove the whole wall. After we are putting the electronic doors, but continuously they find ways to better the house.
Certainly, I do believe that sooner or later a vessel with armed guards is going to be Hydra. This is inevitable. And this is where the market will turn upside down. As I mentioned during my presentation, there are bad companies out there and they are dangerous. I hear of companies having their guards sleeping or watching DVD on duty, walking on deck with their rifles at hand, like their soldiers at the Evros. No procedures, no safety, no security whatsoever.
You mean the arm?
Yes. I agree with Apostolos that regardless of measures, everything can be hijacked if there is persistence from the pirate.
But I will give some time to Manolis. He was for 40 years in a shipping company, and I want to ask you, you heard about what is the famous Aspida and the market. Yourself, as I know, you are an innocent guy, you're working hard, you travel a lot to open the doors for your company, you meet the seafarers, you learn about shipbuilding, you learn about charting, you learn management. And likewise, Bodoropoulos and Gusta that he was here, Mike Sakijoglu that he's in finance, and that, whatever. How you yourself you're going to evaluate whether Aspida is a good company or a bad company? With that question.
It's a bit difficult for us to understand what you're saying. Can you please position yourself in general about the topic that we discussed and this history that there is?
I will write in the question.
I don't want you to reply to this. I want your position to have a question in your mind.
How shall we evaluate a firm with armed guards?
Right.
This is the question.
No, no.
So I want to say
If you
something.
were to decide now, what would you have done?
In Antonis, we were very much against putting on board the ship anything that might aggravate the situation, and instead of escaping the shallow waters and the threat, we would put triggering factors that may lead to a threat to human life or a threat to the ship of the cargo and pollution. So we were systematically avoiding our guards. However, recently, as Mr. Moraitis said, because the psychological effect of an armed guard, when observed by a skiff, seems to be strong at the current stage, we started employing armed guards. What was the criterion of selecting one of the companies? It was not easy. The most important element was after clearing out the permits from the flag and clearing out the permits from our insurance companies and after clearing out the legal issues of what would happen to some of this there's very tremendous legal complexity of issues. We selected the company which we felt that had the maturity to handle the crisis, dissipating tension, not by the threat of the machineries, but by intelligent, smart solutions that would push the skiff away.
Such as?
I mean, when we selected the company, we asked the CVs of the particular people who will go on board. If we missed in these CVs, we saw people who were fighters in Vietnam or fighters against Mr. Saddam Hussein from Commando Force.
Mr. Moraitis.
When we saw people who were by character warriors, we became very much
Or professional warriors.
more professional. We prefer to find people like the people trained in American police who had the psychological training to handle crisis in a mitigated manner, discussing with the terrorists, and finding ways to control the tension. It's not easy. And we have ended up with English company. I'm not sure if it was the best, but because they had a good track record of the big environment. Since you gave me the it is not easy. It's not easy to make an evaluation because you can send an armed guard teams on board, and if the armed guards, and Mr. Moraitis said, are not maturing and balanced enough and have the right training and psychology, they can aggravate this.
Just make one comment, and Panos will have seen it. And on YouTube, there's actually a video, there's video footage, and it happens to be of an American armed team responding to an attack by skiffs. And there's one of the guys says, warning shot. What happens? He rattles off a huge string of bullets.
Actually, he empties 3 mags directly after
It's very, very good.
Well, if anyone's interested in seeing an example of armed forces responding to an attack on YouTube, you can actually find it. And it's an American team, and although the shout went out, warning shot, in point of fact, it was not a warning shot, it was actually,
strangely 3 mags.
Right. Good save.
Replying to phenomenon present. And you have a phenomenon which started as an anthropological, it is social, it is a response and a result of poverty. It is a result of innocent fishermen of a poor country seeing their fish being fished by international big trawlers. So when international big trawlers started capturing the fish of the poor fishermen of Somalia, then they became so poor, then they were found by some barons who said, if these people take our fish, we will take their money. And Martin said this, a beautiful word, it's a Robin Hood approach. Right? So, Geneva having discussed about historical periods of piracy where the English, the French, the Italians, the British, Spanish, all went through the piracy period, either to protect merchant shipping or to earn the money to support their countries. All this historical perspective shows how complex it is, particularly now, with advanced international regimes, law regimes, which describe terrorism, differentiate defense and violence for a gentle purpose from terrorism, defines act of war in sovereign against a sovereign country. I mean, there's so many definitions, legal definitions, that unless observed can create a very hot international event. But we see that many countries are very cautious and skeptical to act as the Americans did when the American ship was taken over. Because when the Americans were decisive, it was an American ship with an American crew and an American warship intervening. It was simple. The same applies to the French. But what if a Greek ship with a Filipino crew or an English navy board is asking a Chinese or an Indian vessel to intervene? It is not easy. It is very complex, and we have to understand it. And that is why, as I tried to say in the morning, I feel that we are in a period where conventional, traditional, legal frameworks and conventional traditional thinking is not enough to get us out of these high complexity situations. Piracy, again, as the crisis, as the banks, is an example that we are living in a period that we have to sit together, push our minds, and create new solutions. And you said, what is the restart? In my opinion, the restart, and this is an expression and an indication, is that we sit together, greater people like us, and younger people like you, and we try to reboot, restart to think whatever. And this is a very specific thing. We are doing something we call a senior citizens gathering security for civilian inspectors. We gather around the table and we try to brainstorm on big issues. And by brainstorming, we may devise new solutions which will be more effective, because the piracy and the other drugs we are solving it with aspirants, while we know that the phenomenon from a social thing is becoming a huge industry which is expanding and expanding. We know that if we let it go for more time, it will be much, much more difficult to harness and control. And to finish, I wanted to say about Blatter and innovative thinking. Captain Hook. You remember in Captain Hook we had the crocodile with the croc? Yes. I don't know what the symbol is. But with Captain Hook, we have Peter Pan, and we have Tinkerbell with golden dust. And I think that the solution, and actually discussed this in the NATO brainstorming, can we resolve piracy by deploying equipment as we do, or do we need to go innovative? And actually, it was very interesting discussion about interval and innovation in solving this expanding.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. It was very nice what you said to us. And not only this, I can tell you that in a sense, it's somehow like we were trying to start making the conclusions of our today's conference. I think that we discussed very lively for Saturday afternoon. Captain, we have a question. The author,
I have to say one simple question.
yes.
Supporters are proper for PLI for any parents. Why is a procedure in the piracy as a superior, as a superior piracy? If a procedure like that, the PLI has the obligation to cover by the government arrangement or by the employee, the personal pay.
May I answer to you?
Yes.
The issue is not who is paying, but the issue is whether we can lose human beings.
I agree, but who is
And
going
there,
to accept the responsibility?
if we will turn it only to payments, then we will accept that there is a very strong market, that it suits a lot of people and solve some part of the unemployment of international shipping. The issue is not whether someone pays or not. The issue is how we can avoid it, we can stop if it's possible, as Teresa said.
My question is not the payment. My question is who has the obligation to cover this payment?
Government
Or the PLI? That's just the question.
It depends.
I'm sorry. Please go on.
It depends on the type of insurance that you have. Whether you have, let's say, many of the ship owners in this room might well be entered with the Hellenic War Club, which is a mutual. And it's the Hellenic War Club which has the, it is to the Hellenic War Club that the owner looks for reimbursement of the ransom, the advisors' fees, and delivery costs, and so on. With the Hellenic War Club, it is a discretionary cover.
Yes, this is what he said.
But it's not only the payment. The point is that, at the end, the ship owner's pays, either directly or through the records of the extra premium, the records. Because, if you have 2 or 3 accidents, next time, they're going to say to you, can you please insure yourself by paying more premium this year? But it's not the payment. As Mr. Thomas said, it's the loss of life.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. Sorry.
I just want to make
Why?
a comment.
Now you woke up yourself.
Yeah, well, I just want to make a comment. On the piracy, stuff on piracy.
I didn't get it because
Let me introduce myself. I'm Henry FPO. I am a company in Nigeria, Lagos. I am Nigeria.
Here you are.
Regarding the modern piracy, there are many dimensions at the moment, especially in Gulf of Aegean. Now, they now go stealing or they now go to take away cargo instead of hijacking the vessel. The last one was a Greek vessel that was hijacked. No, it wasn't like they attacked the Greek vessel because they wanted the cargo. Now, who now survives the drums? The ship, the cargo owner, or the ship, the owner of the vessel? I don't think so. My own suggestion is that UN secretary not doing enough in the Gulf of Aegean. They should come in and do something there. And moreover, the Americans too, they're trying to come in because there's a lot of oil now in the Gulf of Aegean. They are also sending their vessels. Americans sending their vessels. They should come in and do a lot of stuff to bring this kind of attack. They don't want to kill anybody.
I understand.
So you just comment Yeah, the situation in the Gulf of Guinea that Greece and Efe is quite different. And the major problem is that we can't assist in the Gulf of Guinea. Because officially the Nigerian government does not accept that the problem exists. They claim that everything is peachy, that the vessels are safe, and yet they are boarded, in fact, at 150 miles in the outer anchorages of the Nigerian Delta, and Togo, and the whole Gulf of Guinea. For the time being, even the Americans cannot push a sovereign country to do something specifically when it has internal turbulence. I would love to be able to assist our clients with their problems there. This is something that we discuss daily with local contacts in Nigeria and the rest of the Gulf of Guinea countries and with our customers. But for the time being, if we were present on a vessel with our guards, both our personnel and the master and the vessel would be arrested.
By the Nigerian authorities?
Not only Nigerian, Togo authorities, Beninese authorities, you name it. It was Benin and Ghana recently announced that they would permit out-larger border vessels calling in their ports. Unfortunately, in Ghana, the president died 3 weeks ago or something, so the whole process of licensing private maritime security companies was put on hold. In Benin, it was recently announced. I certainly hope that the rest of the countries will follow the example of Ghana and Benin.
Now I'm totally convinced that you are one of the most experienced firms in the world with all the immediate answers that you gave us. And we want to have a leader even in this sector in the world of shipping. Thank you very much, all of you gentlemen, that you were at the panel this afternoon. Stay there. It's time now, as they are doing the services in the church, you know, the priest is saying, making a summary, although I'm not going to spend a lot of time in the summary, but you will understand that I'm not something like a priest. In any case, once again, I would like to thank and congratulate the fraternity of the Athenian Hydrians, my friend Xiradakis, that is not working only for a few weeks in order to manage to have this conference. And it's not only this conference that the fraternity is doing many other things during the year. And from time to time it's very good to follow him, Mr. Moraitis, because it's not only here to be together with him, we have to go to other places. The yacht.
We did invite music for the children.
Mavrakakis. No comments. Now it's the president's speaking. Once again, I want to remind you that what is usually happening with the Greek politicians that they are promising to come, the good thing is that they didn't come, so therefore everything is going well. They are in good health. But at the end of the day, we had the salutes of both the Minister of Culture, Education, Sports, and whatever it is, and the Minister of Defense of Marine. I want in the conclusion to pass the comments of Mr. Xiradakis that they were blessed by all the participants on the way that the new minister will go and the importance of maintaining the same status of the Greek ship owning and ship management companies, and above all, all the audience also blessed the importance of working together the business with the new generation in order to overcome the difficulties in today's problem in the Greek economy and in the global shipping markets, if I can say. no need to say anything about the conclusion, because the only one that doesn't need any conclusion is an historian. I mean, like Zelila Harlati. If Zelila Harlati would have a conclusion, then she wants to stop looking in the past and telling us the experience and moving the experience in the future. Therefore, thank you very much for these two nice presentations that you made, both for the history of the shipping and on the piracy. And I will move on the wonderful discussion and not discussion, I mean the wonderful presentations of this morning. I will go to Rio, not for Olympic Games, but I will go to Rio to say with one word what Martin Stoffel said. That was risk, innovation, and opportunity. And I really liked as well, Martin, who am I to say something that I like from you? I like everything, although I tell all the time that I follow the shipping very much. I could have been a nice shipowner, you know, a good boy, you know, moving from Hydra to Species and would be happy. Anyway. But they gave us a lot of food for thought, and at the same time, you remind us very, very well that shipping is always a risky business. But I have to tell you one thing, and there's no reply on this. You stress, in a sense, indirectly, the main characteristic of the Greek shipping, which is nothing else than dynamism and dynamic sector. It is not only the blood that beat the Greek sail, it is that the Greek shipping shows always how dynamic it is and how ready are the ship owners to reinvest. And if you want, in today's market, most of the ship owners, when they have in front of them the bankers or the investors, etc., one thing they care most of, apart of maintaining the ongoing concern of their company and stay alive during the crisis, is to keep some liquidity in order to reinvest them in the opportunistic period that we have ahead. And this is something that the global market has to understand. The investors that they are visiting, they are putting their money through the New York Stock Exchange, and as well as the bankers, that unfortunately there are not a lot of them here, but it's me that I will pass to them the message, as I'm the General Secretary of the Association of Shipping Financiers. Thank you. I'm saying, so I'm moving on to mon ami Nathanael Moncler, qui vient de Paris. Thank you very much for your presentation. It was straight. I mean, no doubt about having a very big, that you have the world's largest, you represent the world's largest stock exchange here and everywhere. Still, I believe that shipping is a very small market for your total turnover, and this is something that is all being said to us when we try to make a roadshow in the States. And sometimes we have to answer not only what's happening in 100 years, what's going to happen in 100 years' time, but even to compare, if you remember well, the high of patent empire building with the VLCC or with the VLOC or with the super duper barkers of Vale shipping now. So still, we sincerely believe that you must more and more promote the shipping business, because without transportation, nothing is happening in the world. And we, the Greeks, as Zelila proven, we are the international transporters, the world's largest transporters so far. So we need your support for everything. On the discussion, I will not forget what Boduro Michael said together with John Kustas, that are committed to overpass the problems that they face because of the crisis, that they are committed to get the risk, they see the opportunities, and as John Kustas said, the innovation is always something that they are looking for. Even in the most strict market, where the innovation in container market is not easy, as is, for instance, when you want to buy a cruise, or to build a new cruise, or to build a new boat, or even a dry cargo, or whatever. With all these things, we close the first session with having Mavrakakis a bit tired, and he didn't say a lot of things, because he didn't sleep very well yesterday night. And then we moved to the nice, I was impressed because I saw that no one slept. Usually, apart from the leader's husband that is slept a bit. Yes, the leader's husband slept a bit because he accompanied his wife. You should have gone with my wife swimming up there. The other one, no one slept. Even my friend from Nigeria, although you didn't raise on time the question. Right. Next time you have to be faster. Okay. So Eva survived successfully from the 77 days hard work with the pirates. He, in a sense, revealed to us a real case and the stuff and the existence of a market which is booming up, as Panos Moraitis confirmed. And I led two people, to speak about two people that they are always very good friends of mine. You might see that myself I'm fighting with Antonis Mavrakakis. I never fight with Antonis Mavrakakis. More I dance rather than I fight with him. But since he's another guy that speaks a lot as me, I cannot allow him to speak more than me when I am a chairman. And I'm always trying to squeeze his brain when he's in conferences like that, like here. And I think that his open character and friendly appearance help us a lot to maintain and keep alive all our discussions. Last and not least, I have to tell you that I'm really extremely happy for the characteristic and that I gave to Mr. Antonis today, and I think that's going to be followed in the Greek shipping international shipping. That he's something like a vampire.
To become 60
you are a figurehead.
The word is figurehead.
Okay, it's the figurehead of a ship. The figurehead of a ship. So the other people, they have other things. The Greek shipping has and now, as the priest saying at the end, that today it is the day of St. Nicholas or whatever, I will have to once again to thank a lot the sponsors, the main sponsor being Aspida, the top sponsors being Paluco and Free Seas, and then after that Klein & Co, Kotomati, Good News, Hellenic Seaways, Comedia, Paragon Shipping, Media, yes, Shipon Capital Advisors, Skipper, that's we have this wonderful Land Sunset, and all of them. And please join me to thank a lot, very much, the chairman of this conference, myself. Thank you very much.